Welcome everyone, my name's Graham Davis. I'm Technical Product Manager here at SquaredUp with a focus on dashboard server and enterprise visualizations. I've worked with SCOM since its NetIQ days at the end of the last century and served as an MVP and Microsoft Premier Field Engineer in cloud and data center management before eventually joining SquaredUp after using dashboard server extensively with enterprise customers. I like the product so much, I joined the company. Joining me here today is Ash, a Technical Account Manager. Many of you who will know from previous webinars, and he might indeed be your own Technical Account Manager for your organisation. A few housekeeping notes. The session is being recorded and the link will be shared with registrants shortly after the finish. And as you'll have noticed, microphones are muted during the presentation, but please drop questions into chat and we'll address them throughout and do a wrap up at the end. Now, let's get into it. I'm going to assume two things. First, that you know SCOM really well. You might have exceptional knowledge of it, you might just understand it really well, but we're not going to cover SCOM at all on this session. Secondly, you also understand SquaredUp Dashboard Server. You've purchased Dashboard Server, you're using it in your organisation today. Where you go from here may vary. You might be fully committed to SCOM, or you might be planning to move away from it. You've likely either way accumulated additional monitoring tools and need to correlate data across them. Whatever your situation, you want your existing investment to keep delivering value today and into the future. So today is a roadmap session. We'll look at how the modern monitoring stack fits together, where SCOM still excels, where new tooling fills the gaps, and how SquaredUp covers both on-premises and cloud visualizations. Critically, we'll explore your options as SCOM reliance may reduce or potentially disappear entirely. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here, and we want your dashboards to travel with you at your pace. The agenda: a quick scene setter on SCOM and dashboard server. Then we'll look at dashboard server as the hub, the visualization hub, pulling data in, surfacing data from cloud. Then we'll flip that model and use SquaredUp Cloud as the hub and surface dashboard server tiles and dashboards within SquaredUp Cloud. We'll close with a decision matrix to help you choose the right approach for your situation, and then some next steps that you might want to try out for yourself. We'll also look at some quick wins around resource, cost and license optimizations, but more on those at the end. Let's start at the beginning, because most of you probably started in the same place, SCOM and dashboard server, all on premises, all doing the job. And if that's all you need, air-gapped or you're not yet in a position to adopt cloud services, the rest of this webinar might not directly be relevant to you today. But do stay on. SCOM 2025 has 4 to 5 years of full support. Dashboard server is actively developed and nothing's going away. For everyone else, the journey tends to follow a consistent path. The first step is usually cloud adoption, lifting and shifting infrastructure into Azure or AWS, the business adopting software as a service like Microsoft 365, Salesforce or ServiceNow, or often all of these at the same time. Suddenly your team, your operationals team, is being asked questions SCOM alone can't answer. At that stage, dashboard server typically remains the visualization hub, with cloud data pulled in alongside on-premises data sources. One screen, everything together. As organizations shift further to cloud first, that pattern tends to flip. Dashboard server handling on-premises visualizations, but SquaredUp Cloud becoming that centralized visualization platform, surfacing specific dashboard server tiles or dashboards as needed. Critically, in this instance, nothing gets rebuilt. Existing dashboards surface directly into SquaredUp Cloud. The work you've already done travels with you. Some customers have gone further and deprecated SCOM entirely. Dashboard server and SquaredUp Cloud together made that transition seamless from a visualization perspective. Because both products share the same look and feel, executives, service managers and the wider business saw no change. The dashboards looked identical. What changed was underneath. It's that swan analogy. Your team working flat out below the waterline, migrating infrastructure and switching data sources, while the business sees a calm, consistent view of the data they've always relied on. That's the journey. Let's get started. And let's start by looking at Dashboard Server to visualize cloud data. Some customers want to keep Dashboard Server as their visualization hub, at least initially. It's certainly not the only option, but let's start there. If you're lifting and shifting Windows Server virtual machines to Azure, AWS or Google Cloud, it's straightforward. Put the SCOM agent on them and manage them exactly as you would on premises. Your dashboards still work, your SCOM alert rules and monitors will still fire. Your team needs to learn nothing new. Azure Arc is worth a mention here. It lets you bring on-premises virtual machines into the Azure management plane and deploy the Azure Monitor agent consistently across your whole estate. I'll resist going deeper on that today. The Microsoft Monitoring Agent and Azure Monitor Agent decision deserves its own conversation. Beyond infrastructure, organizations at this stage are typically adopting PaaS and SaaS too. Dashboard Server does have providers for Azure Application Insights and Azure Log Analytics, so you could build Azure dashboards there directly, but should you? And I'm going to suggest on this webinar, probably not. The Log Analytics provider is one workspace per provider, so you end up creating lots of them, and there's no help building KQL queries either. SquaredUp Cloud removes both limitations and is far more scalable. One recommendation: if you want Dashboard Server as your visualization hub, use SquaredUp Cloud to build your cloud tiles and dashboards, and then surface them back into Dashboard Server. It sounds more complex than it is, but we'll go on and look at that in a moment. A catch-all method of surfacing cloud data into SquaredUp Dashboard Server has traditionally been via the Web API and PowerShell tiles. So in this example, our support cases are using a HTTP GET and mapping the response to tile data, and the satisfaction scores are using a PowerShell script. You can actually see that here. These work especially for ad hoc one-off tiles, but they have limitations, severe limitations when used on an enterprise scale for servicing a wide range of cloud data. We also have the SquaredUp Dashboard Server integrations for Azure, for Entra ID, App Insights and Log Analytics. These really predate SquaredUp Cloud's arrival on the scene, and they remain in Dashboard Server for historical reasons. But a preferred method now is to use the SquaredUp Cloud provider. Use SquaredUp Cloud to create the dashboards and the tiles, and then the SquaredUp Cloud provider to surface that data into Dashboard Server. Using the SquaredUp Cloud provider, you can link Dashboard Server to your SquaredUp Cloud tenant, allowing you to surface any tile into Dashboard Server. Let's switch across to a live view. So I'm here now looking at SquaredUp Dashboard Server, and just to re-emphasize, the traditional way, or one of the older ways of working, was to use the Web API or PowerShell scripting. So if I come up and edit these, what we'll see here is the tile is a Web API bar graph tile, HTTP GET with the URL, and then we do the data mapping, which we looked at on the slide. And that then allows you to take the data from an API call and populate, visualize, surface that data into a tile in Dashboard Server. Likewise, across on these satisfaction scores, we've got a PowerShell script, PowerShell line graph. The script itself, fairly straightforward one, I guess, but trying to scale this across an enterprise for every single cloud service that you want, well, it just isn't scalable at an enterprise level. It's all doable, it's all good for ad hoc, one-off, perhaps tactical type visualizations, but it's not really hitting that enterprise visualization layer that we want it to be. The other option, we can actually create the tile in SquaredUp Cloud. So let's have a look here at some applications. Here we go. And then, so this is now SquaredUp Cloud. And what I've done is I've got a variety of applications, one of which is Parts Unlimited. I've got my dashboard here in SquaredUp Cloud. And what I want to do is surface that information into Dashboard Server. So this is now flipping across to Dashboard Server. And it might be my operational team. We're supporting some on-premises applications, we're supporting some cloud applications, and these are the applications that we need to visualize. And what I can do, all within Dashboard Server, is surface the tiles from SquaredUp Cloud. if I come in here and look at the settings, the provider, we're connecting to our SquaredUp Cloud tenant, and then we're selecting the tile that we want to bring in from SquaredUp Cloud. So the real user monitoring tile, the application health and real user monitoring, and that's what's coming in as part of Parts Unlimited. And we can do that whatever the tool set, whatever the provider. The Claim app is running as a Kubernetes application on Google Cloud. But again, we build that application in SquaredUp Cloud. We connect to our SquaredUp Cloud tenant, and then we select that tile here and surface the data from SquaredUp Cloud, from Platform as a Service on Google Cloud, into our SquaredUp dashboard server visualizations. Same for the Swag Store, it's exactly the same. And we could also be linking into perhaps ServiceNow and pulling down change requests and incidents into this. So we're surfacing all of this cloud data into SquaredUp dashboard server. So the operational teams in this instance can have that single pane of glass over the applications that they are responsible for. Another option is taking a whole dashboard out of SquaredUp Cloud. So within SquaredUp Cloud, I've got a dashboard called Telescope Shop. We've got a nice diagram of the Telescope Shop, and we've got a not so nice indication of issues we've got with the Telescope Shop. But what I can do within SquaredUp Cloud is, rather than taking individual tiles across like I just showed, we can actually take the whole dashboard across as well. So we've got a sharing option. We know open access from SquaredUp Dashboard Server. Well, SquaredUp Cloud has the same capability. So I can click on share. I can share it as I want, anyone with the link or anyone in my organization. But the major part is that we're going to take and copy that link, and we're going to take it across to SquaredUp Dashboard Server. And within SquaredUp Dashboard Server, I can now paste that in as a URL. I've actually changed this to be light mode rather than dark mode, but other than that, the copy and paste will be identical. Let's paste that in. Click on next. And we can see it populating exactly the same whole dashboard into SquaredUp Dashboard Server. If you want to configure the providers, that's in the usual place in Dashboard Server, System and Administration here, and Integrations. And this is where we have our Azure sort of native integrations, but the one we'd say is the preferred method of surfacing cloud service data into Dashboard Server. That's using the SquaredUp Cloud provider connecting to your SquaredUp Cloud tenant. And if you do have multiple SquaredUp Cloud tenants, you can create multiple providers, as we show here as well. So that's showing how to sort of surface SquaredUp Cloud data, cloud services data into SquaredUp Dashboard Server. So SquaredUp Dashboard Server remains your primary visualization tool, but as you need to surface data from cloud services, be it application data, ServiceNow data, Microsoft 365 data, that can all be now surfaced within Dashboard Server. So switching back to the slide deck, it will just sort of be a quick review of that. Our preferred method of surfacing cloud data into Dashboard Server is to use the SquaredUp Cloud provider. And when you've got that configured, use the SquaredUp Cloud tile, choose your SquaredUp Cloud tenant, in this case Squid Ink, and then choose your tile. And that then allows you to surface data from cloud into Dashboard Server. So you're using Dashboard Server as your main visualization tool. And yeah, the applications themselves show up in Dashboard Server. You've got no real indication as to where they reside, because at the end of the day, you're purely interested in Dashboard Server, in this particular dashboard, at the health of those applications. And what I also showed was the ability to take actually a whole cloud dashboard across using sort of open access type technologies, capabilities. So yeah, a whole SquaredUp Cloud dashboard can come across and part of a SquaredUp Dashboard Server tile. As organizations shift to cloud first, the relationship between Dashboard Server and SquaredUp Cloud typically flips. Rather than pulling cloud data or surfacing cloud data into Dashboard Server, customers start using SquaredUp Cloud as their primary visualization tool, surfacing existing SquaredUp Dashboard Server dashboards into SquaredUp Cloud as needed. Not rebuilding them, just surfacing them. The work you've already done with Dashboard Server travels with you. Infrastructure teams needing dashboard servers on-premises integration, such as VMware, Splunk, SolarWinds, will still use it for traditional infrastructure and application monitoring, with cloud data surfaced in that as needed. But as cloud adoption grows, new tooling appears to monitor service SCOM simply wasn't designed for. Tools which leave operational teams accountable for services they can't necessarily see via their traditional monitoring, such as SCOM. Take Azure DevOps. Developers use it to manage pipelines and deployments, but how do you correlate a deployment failure with a ServiceNow incident or an APM alert? SquaredUp Cloud's native Azure DevOps integration services pipeline status, deployment history and work items alongside infrastructure health. One screen, one conversation. The same applies to APM tooling, Dynatrace, Datadog, New Relic, AppDynamics. Best of breed tools that don't talk to each other. Data sitting in silos, each team with its own dashboard, and nobody sees the full picture. SquaredUp Cloud surfaces all of it, SCOM, APM, ServiceNow, Azure DevOps, on-premises into a single dashboard, sliced for different stakeholders. You're not replacing existing tools, you're giving them a shared surface. It's SquaredUp Cloud as your command and control center across your entire toolset. Unified, real-time, with no more logging into multiple portals. I won't go deep on SquaredUp Cloud here. My previous Enterprise Visibility webinar covers that in detail, and I'm happy to do a future webinar that goes into a deep dive. What I want to show is how Dashboard Server dashboards and tiles can be surfaced how they look when you use SquaredUp Cloud. One scenario here is perhaps you're using Enterprise Application Monitoring or VADA from SquaredUp Dashboard Server. And you can see here that the map, the Enterprise Application Monitoring, Enterprise Application Map can be surfaced within SquaredUp Cloud. It looks identical whether you're viewing it in Dashboard Server or Cloud. There's no rebuild required if you do want to surface the SquaredUp Dashboard Server tiles and dashboard into SquaredUp Cloud. It might well be that you haven't used SquaredUp's Enterprise Application Monitoring, in which case I say, why not? But if you haven't, perhaps you've just built it natively in SCOM. So this is a health service dashboard that's in SquaredUp Dashboard Server, but I've put it together perhaps in a more traditional way using SCOM classes and SCOM relationships. Now this dashboard I have built in Dashboard Server, but I could also have built it directly in SquaredUp Cloud, and this again is where we start to get questions from customers is what's the best way of working, how best should I do this, and I'll address that in a moment. But say one option is in an existing estate, you've got Dashboard Server, this dashboard already exists, you can use open access to embed the URL into SquaredUp Cloud and it will look exactly the same. But if this dashboard doesn't exist yet and a request has just come in to build it, a question you'll have to ask yourself is, should I build it in Dashboard Server or should I build it in Cloud? How different will it look? Well, here's exactly the same dashboard built in SquaredUp Cloud, but it's using SCOM as a direct data source to SquaredUp Cloud. So we're not using Dashboard Server here at all. We've got SquaredUp Cloud, we've used the SCOM data source, and we're surfacing SCOM data directly into SquaredUp Cloud. What you'll notice here is some red and green indicators next to individual tiles, CVS, PACS, RIS, also next to the dashboard, healthcare drill down, and on the left-hand side next to healthcare itself. So one advantage of building directly in SquaredUp Cloud is these built-in health roll-ups. Each tile and dashboard gets a health state based on its own contents with drill down capability. So you can go from an application all the way down to the specific component and the SCOM alert driving the unhealthy state. That's in here. And you can do all of that without opening up Visual Studio and without using Visual Studio authoring extensions and creating those relationships in code. This is all GUI wizard driven. You don't have to get your hands dirty with that level of coding. So the question that will come up is then, which is the best way of doing this? Should I create dashboards in Dashboard Server? Should I create them in SquaredUp Cloud? And honestly, the answer is it depends. I know it's not always that helpful, but the flexibility is powerful, but it also can cause uncertainty as to which is the best route to go on. It might be unclear as to what is the best strategy. All I can say is that there is no one size fits all. So please reach out to us for a no obligation conversation and we can map a tailored approach for your organization. Or if you feel you want to play around with yourself, use an evaluation of SquaredUp Cloud and sort of try and discover for yourselves what you like to do. But please, I say, ideally reach out to us for a no obligation conversation and we can really help you with that. This is a slide, if you saw my enterprise visibility webinar, that I used there extensively to sort of showcase the value proposition from SquaredUp. Many dashboard servers customers assume that actually SquaredUp Cloud is a migration story. You're swapping dashboard server for cloud and then you're done. I really want to stress that it isn't. If you have SCOM, if you have dashboard server and SquaredUp Cloud, then they are better together than any of them are alone. There are a few ways this plays out. Some customers keep dashboard server as their primary visibility layer, surfacing cloud data into it, where SCOM remains central to their monitoring strategy. Dashboard server stays front and center, cloud fills in the gap. For others, the model shifts. Dashboard server becomes their on-premises visualization engine, while SquaredUp Cloud becomes the enterprise visibility layer, with on-premises dashboard surfaced into it. Dashboard server isn't replaced, it's just a piece in a bigger picture. And if you're deprecating SCOM, Dashboard Server and SquaredUp Cloud can make that transition seamless from a visualization perspective. The look and feel is identical. So dashboards consumers don't learn new screens or tools. They may not even notice the underlying data sources have changed. That's the swan analogy I mentioned earlier. Technical teams managing the complexity beneath the surface, while executives and the business see calm, uninterrupted continuity. As I've mentioned a number of times already, the natural question is how to decide what to visualize with what and where to surface it. It is the question we get asked most, and the honest answer, as I've said a number of times, is it depends. It depends on your estate, your team, your tooling, and where you are on the journey. Wherever you are, though, you do need a consistent decision process so that when a service appears or someone asks for a new dashboard, you're not starting from scratch every time. This matrix is a guardrail, it's not a rule book, but a starting point for evaluating new visualization requirements. The color coding maps to the journey stages we've covered. Teal for infrastructure as a service, where SCOM and dashboard server still own the space. Purple for PaaS, where cloud native tooling picks up. Orange for software as a service, handled natively in SquaredUp Cloud. The visualization service column on the right moves consistently from dashboard server to cloud as you go down the stack. It's not a migration agenda, just an accurate reflection of where the data lives and what the right tool tends to be to surface it. Feel free to take this away, share it with your team, use it as a starting point when something new appears on your estate. We're also planning webinars, blogs and videos covering each item on the matrix individually. Let us know which format you'd prefer, whether it is formal webinars or blogs or videos. The feedback would be really useful. Here's a real-world example that illustrates some of those concepts we've just mentioned. A couple of highlights here: a dashboard for unattached disks and orphaned resources, and another servicing quick wins like dev named app service plans that could be on a free SKU, or test environments on premium plans that could be downscaled, or non-production storage accounts on higher tiers, and premium plans without auto-scaling enabled. These add up to potentially significant savings and can be deployed in your own environment straight away. Azure Advisor cost recommendations and monthly cost comparisons are also surfaced, so anomalies are caught and remediated before the invoice arrives. The full case study, the link to the full case study, is on the screen. This brings us to FinOps, the discipline that brings finance, engineering and business together to make faster, smarter decisions about cloud spend. Two core principles. Teams must collaborate in near real time, not at the quarter end when the bill's already in, when it's already too late. And reporting, therefore, must be timely, with fast feedback loops so teams can adjust before problems escalate. Cultural shift is harder than the technical one. Engineers will love the performance, the availability charts that we've got on the screen at the moment, but getting those engineers to care about cost and giving finance enough context for meaningful conversations takes time. But wouldn't it be great to be able to surface budgets and expected spend next to performance and availability? SquaredUp Cloud makes it practical. Cost data here shown alongside performance availability data, but also alongside deployment activity and infrastructure changes on the same dashboard. When spend spikes, you can immediately see whether it was expected, a planned scaling event or not, a misconfiguration or a bug. Alerts can trigger Slack and Teams notifications or ServiceNow incidents or emails to relevant teams. The payoff in reduced waste, better forecasting and genuine ownership of your cloud footprint is well worth the effort. A quick taster of what's possible. I've put up some links here. They're all about 20-minute videos, so I'm not going to go through them in depth here, but some great examples of using SquaredUp Cloud and SquaredUp Dashboard Server together. There's a few quick screenshots to help sort of whet the appetite as tasters. We've got the ability here to link costs either within or across tenants within an AWS environment, if you've just got a single cloud provider, or also showing cost across multiple cloud providers. And again, scalar tiles, donut tiles, line chart tile types, all available to you. Also got the option of Microsoft 365 licensage across Teams, across SharePoint, Outlook, OneDrive and Copilot. Licenses allocated, used, never used, inactive beyond a set period. All of these available out of the box with SquaredUp Cloud. What I haven't shown here is capacity charts, but you could also show gigabyte usage or capacity usage and start using that to plan for the future, or see who's consuming most storage and ask them to cut back, ask them to act accordingly. You can also surface Intune data, and this could be particularly useful to surface from SquaredUp Cloud into Dashboard Server for your on-premises stack. You can also create live diagrams in cloud for cloud services and surface them back into Dashboard Server for your operational teams. We already saw that with the telescope shop earlier in the presentation. Which brings us back to here, the full picture. High level but complete. The journey from SCOM and Dashboard Server to a world where both are part of a much bigger jigsaw, with SquaredUp letting you manage your dashboards your way at your pace. We'll do follow-up sessions which will go deep on IaaS, hybrid virtual machine monitoring, Azure Arc, the agent landscape, into platform as a service, such tooling as Dynatrace, Azure DevOps, Kubernetes, and also a deeper dive into Microsoft 365 Intune, Defender and license utilization. But the sessions I'm most excited about are customer roundtables, real journeys, the good bits and the difficult bits, from customers at different stages of this journey. No slide deck replicates that. We're certainly interested in getting customers on board for future roundtables where they can share their journey. I'm sure if you have built something your peers would love to see, please get involved. Speak to your account manager or drop me an email. We'd love to have you involved in future presentations. And with that, thank you very much for your time today. Let's look at the questions.